Hey traders, welcome back to my channel. Today we are looking at the head and shoulders pattern. I thought I had uploaded a video on this and it doesn't look like I have. So there may be some repetition because I think I did touch on it in another earlier video, but I don't think I did a full dedicated video to it. So this might be part two, but we're going to go into a couple different things anyway. I just made a post about this this week, I forget what day, and you guys all wanted to know more information. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how I use this pattern. I will kind of start by disclaiming I don't love patterns. I never enter a trade based on a pattern alone. But of course, just like any common pattern trend line area on a chart that many people are watching, price tends to kind of respect those areas a little more in general, just because so many people are watching them, right? So many traders are looking at that same area. So I definitely take note of them and incorporate them into my strategy. I just don't trade based on them alone, is what I mean by that. You'll notice I am on the daily time frame today, you guys. When I look at chart patterns, I do like to use them on the higher time frame. I just find that it's more accurate that way. So I will definitely start looking at them on the higher time frame. And another thing I wanted to mention to you is make sure you wait for your head and shoulders pattern. I'm just on a random chart here, you guys. I just looked for the first kind of decent looking one I could find. You want to make sure that the pattern is finished. So you want to wait until like this move finishes happening. Because if you kind of try to enter up here, which some people do, and if you have a strategy that does incorporate that, that's fine. If it's working for you, go for it. However, what's to say that this won't continue on up and you really didn't have a head and shoulders at all, right? So it's just, that's how I find it best. I do not personally enter until the pattern is finished, and a lot of people do not. That being said, it wouldn't really be finished there. I'll kind of elaborate on this in a second. But another thing I did want to mention, I don't like the red, let's use blue. This is not going to be pretty. I'm not going to draw this in. Let me draw it with a line. Okay, so when we're looking at head and shoulders pattern, first off, let me get my little ellipses. We're looking at the formation of two peaks, okay, or three peaks at the end of an uptrend, and we want the middle peak, so the middle high, to be higher than both of these surrounding, okay? So we want the middle guy to be higher. That's the kind of the main thing we're looking for, and it looks like a head and shoulders, right? It's obviously why we call it that. Now, something you'll hear a lot of people discuss is the neckline of your head and shoulders. And basically, all that is we connect a line at the bottom of our lows. So these lows here, these wick lows, you want to connect these. Let me try to, and it's a sort of support that we can form then based on the pattern, okay? Personally, you guys, and this is not in a perfect placement, so please don't come for me in the comments about this. I'm just showing you where the neckline would be, okay? Or what general area it would be in. It's very sloppy. Again, when I'm drawing in my neckline, though, how I would do it is I include as many wicks as possible. So I'd end up moving this. Actually, this is not horrible. I'd probably place it right about here is where I would place mine. That's just how I prefer to do it. And then I would, of course, zone that in. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So some people will go based on this line, and what they'll do, let me get my little pencil tools, they'll wait for price to break out of that neckline. I'm using the eraser now. Wait for a break here, okay, a retest, so retesting the line, and then sell. Okay, so that's kind of the standard way a lot of people will, or a lot of traders will trade, and that's totally fine. It often works. In this case, it would have worked beautifully. And essentially what you're doing is using this as a support area, and you're doing the standard break and retest. Another way to trade it would be to trade the breakout of the neckline. So once price breaks out of this area, Okay, you trade on this breakout candle. And in this case, the only really big difference is you're going to keep your stop a little bit wider. So your stop's going to be a little bit wider because, of course, in case you get that retracement, which we did, you want to be able to accommodate for that. Okay, so that's that. And these two methods I don't really use, so I'm not going into too much detail on them. I'm just making you aware. Now, you guys know I like to trade zone to zone. So here's what I would do, okay? I'm going to look at my zones. I'm going to look at my zones and I'm going to really quickly draw one in here, okay? I'm going to kind of eyeball it. Now, you guys know I like to look for an engulfing candle and a smaller candle and box in the smaller candle, but I'm not sure if I'm going to see one. Actually, we have one right here. Let's see if this guy will work, okay? Oops. Let's see if this will work. And I'm going to drag this over. I'm not extending it today because we're not going to go back all throughout the chart. I don't want to lose where we are here. And of course, we can see just by eyeballing it that this has obviously been an area of resistance here, okay, and an area of support here. So that's a pretty decent zone that we've got drawn in. We could extend it a little bit, but I'm quite happy with this placement. If we were to extend this out, we could just look and make sure it's touched more times, but we can see at least 3 touches. So I'm okay with using this area. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at where my zone lines up in terms of the neckline placement. Okay, so my zone is actually quite a bit lower in this instance. Sometimes it will line right up and then that's perfect. But in any case, what I would do here is either enter once my zone is broken. Okay, so you could enter on the breakout, and we are on the Australian dollar, which I don't trade very often, so you don't generally get a nice solid retest with this pair. Usually what I do, you guys, to be honest, is I'd wait for a nice break here and I'd want price to actually come back up and retest this zone, and then I would enter. So it's really the same way that I enter any other trade. It's just the only difference is that I'm using this pattern here to confirm we're getting a reversal because, again, and I probably should have led with this, you guys, a head and shoulders pattern is a reversal pattern. So it's indicating that our uptrend, we've seen exhaustion, okay, from the buyers, and sellers are taking control, and we're likely going to see a downtrend. We didn't get a beautiful downtrend here. We got a lot of consolidation. Again, why I don't like this pair, but usually we'll see a nice push to the downside. And we did get a little one, so I'm sure people did catch some pips there. But this is what I would look for. On certain pairs, like if I were trading, let me think, UJ or GJ even, I do trade the breakout method on those pairs because certain pairs you do need to treat differently. And that's something I don't know if I've spoken a whole lot about, but I definitely go over this in my course. You really have to know your pairs and know how they respond to levels and which techniques work best with each pair. So there are certain pairs the breakout does work better. Generally speaking, for most pairs, I would like to see a retest of that zone, and that's where I'd enter myself. So in this case, didn't work out beautifully, but had you used the breakout method, like if this was UJ, for example, you could trade the break, or I would trade the break, and you could definitely catch a nice little down move there. So that's how I use it. So pretty easy. Hopefully you guys understood this. If you have any questions on it, let me know. I can definitely do a part 2 to this. Don't want to make this too long, but that's how I go about it. So I incorporate my zones into all of any technique that I'm using. Those are the areas I look for, and that's how I'm comfortable trading. But like I said, you can definitely use those other strategies. There's tons of awesome videos on those here on YouTube, on Pinterest. I always mention that to you guys. Even if you type it into Google, you can find some really good charts and kind of like photos. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that's everything though that I wanted to say. So yeah, comment below if you want a part 2 of this. I can definitely go into more detail. Let me know anything you're not quite sure of here. But I did want to go, just into a bit more detail on the head and shoulders pattern. This might already be a part 2 because I think I did touch on this before. So that is everything. And I'll see you guys in the next